The Fantastic Four First Steps is the newest Marvel film, the first film in Marvel's Phase 6 of the MCU. This is going to lead directly into the next two Avengers films, Doomsday and Secret Wars. Doomsday got delayed, so that's still a year and a half out from being released. I've heard really not really good things so far with how production is gone. The script isn't finished, I've heard. They've barely started filming, if they have even done that, so I'm worried about it just a little bit. But with that being said, this film is awesome. I loved this movie so much. Everything about it. All the other Fantastic Four films that we've gotten are obviously not very good. I honestly never saw 2015's The Fantastic Four. Glad I didn't. And when the trailers first came out for this movie, I was very excited. I mean, just right away from the trailer, you get the retro feel that they're going for this. You know, the 60s vibe. But still, it's somehow more advanced than you would assume, the 60s to be. This is set in another universe, Earth 818. Our MCU is in Earth 616. So just, the whole vibe, it's all there. There's a lot of advanced technology, like I said, for this retro vibe. But there's also, analog technology that, the Fantastic Four uses in this, specifically Reed Richards with certain printers and just certain computers that look analog, that look like they belong in this time era. But then you have way more advanced technology. You got their spaceship that is just unbelievably cool. The Fantastic Four car flies. The whole look of the city, too, is just almost like something out of the Jetsons or something, I'm sure you've heard that, but it's very true. And just even the dynamic between all four of them, the family that they've created, everything that they've gone through from, just when they went into space and, their transformations. We don't get to see that, which I'm glad because, like James Gunn said, origin stories are just done. We need to be done with them if we've seen it just many times before. And with the retro feel, the retro aesthetic that it has, it's once again amplified by Michael Giacchino's score, which is absolutely wonderful. It really just fits in the vibe of this movie so well. And just the Fantastic Four theme that, you hear in the trailer, it just hits so hard, man. But just the relationship that all these characters have together is just, it comes through fully. You feel all of it. You can tell that they really care about each other. Not only that, but just the banter that they have too. Johnny Storm in this, played by Joseph Quinn, easily better than Chris Evans. I mean, he has been in a lot of movies this past year, Gladiator, Warfare, all that, name it. But he is the perfect Johnny Storm. He's cocky, he's funny. He's also, kind of, horny, for lack of a better words, all the time. He thinks that the Silver Surfer is like super hot. He's always trying to just subtly flirt with her in some sort of way. And that's exactly what the character is. Same thing with Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal. I'm going to say it. We all know it. This dude's in 1,000 movies every year. But I do think that this is one of his best roles. I think he embodies the character perfectly. The sense that he has of just always wanting to do the right thing, protect everybody, and just feel like it's all on his shoulders because he is probably the smartest man in this universe. He's always trying to come up with algorithms, solve these math problems that can, save their world, save their universe. And you just feel all the weight that he feels. Even just him and Sue Storm's chemistry in this is just off the charts once again. Sue is played by Vanessa Kirby, great actress. She was also fantastic in this movie. But not only can you tell how much these characters love each other and how much they care for one another, specifically with Sue and Reed, they have a baby, and that just further just escalates their relationship and their love, and it really just brings them together even more. And there's, a specific scene towards the end where where Sue Storm uses her powers, and it's so awesome to see on screen, especially in IMAX, and you just love to see it. Everything that she does, I mean, this movie's aura is just off the charts. That's really what it is. Every one of these characters is aura farming in the best way possible. They are so fucking sick. Even just their suits, it's not really anything crazy. Their Fantastic Four suits, the fabric doesn't really seem too intricate or, advanced, but somehow it works. The colors, the retro feel, the light blue, the white, the collar, it's just, or the turtleneck more so, it's just literally perfect. And Ben Grimm in this movie, played by Eben Moss-Backrack, I love this actor. The Bear is one of my favorite shows on television right now. So when I heard that, just the popularity from that show, putting him into the Marvel Universe now, just the opportunity that is, because of how much I like this guy. I loved it. It makes me so happy. And I really enjoyed him in this film. You know, he is a CGI character. He is the Thing. So you don't necessarily get to see him ever, really. You kind of do just in the very beginning when they're just kind of showing right before they take off into space in their spaceship. But even though you don't get to see him, his voice acting, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. You still get to see, you know, or hear the quips that he has, especially with him and Johnny Storm, the banter that they have back and forth. The Thing is also, you know, no pun intended, he is the rock of the group. And I would say Sue is as well, but she's more so just the mother of the group. You know, she's kind of the glue that keeps that keeps his family together. There's a cool scene where, you know, Galactus wants something from the Fantastic Four. That's why he's coming to Earth, not only just to swallow it and consume it, but he wants something that they have, and they refuse to give it to him. So when the human race figures this out, that they won't give up a certain thing to Galactus, and that they're going to just risk it, they're going to fight him, they are worried, they are scared. They start to riot pretty much against the Fantastic Four, gathering, you know, right below the Baxter building. And she goes out and she gives an amazing speech, just telling them that everything's going to be okay, that we are going to work together as a team. Everybody on Earth, we're going to do whatever we can to defeat this, and that we will not give up. But back to the Thing, there are just a lot of funny scenes involving him, you know, just the way that he looks. He's walking through the streets, everybody's loving him. There's a scene where these kids want him to, you know, pick up a car, and they just all start cheering and going crazy for him. And I thought all that was really cool, especially just how in this universe, they are the only known superheroes, the only known people, human beings with powers. So there are celebrities on this planet. They are celebrities on Earth 818. Everybody loves them. They're always on this like late night show. They always have their own like little special, and people go crazy for them. My favorite part of the movie, though, was easily, you know, besides all the Galactus stuff, I'll get to that in a little bit later, but there is the second act, the middle of this movie, when they go to space. The Silver Surfer comes to Earth and warns them that they are going to be taken by Galactus. The whole planet is going to be swallowed, consumed by him, and they need to be ready because he is coming. So Fantastic Four says, hell no. They go to space. They try to go, you know, they can track where the Silver Surfer last was, you know, just once again, advanced technology that is not really expected for this time period, but loved it. It's a comic book. So they leave Earth, and the whole middle part of this movie is one big, epic, awesome space sequence. It was so fucking cool. Not only because their spaceship is traveling through a wormhole at the speed of light to get to this other edge of, you know, the universe where Galactus is. It was so intense. Silver Surfer was easily also one of my favorite characters. She is played by Julia Garner, and there's scenes in this where she is surfing on wormhole waves. She's surfing on the dust of a black hole. I mean, she's surfing on lava on this one planet. I mean, there's just so much cool stuff that they do with this character in this movie. I was so impressed. I was just eyes glued to the screen, jaw wide open. I mean, it was so sick. And when the Fantastic Four does finally get to this planet, they get to go inside of, you know, this little place where Galactus is living. I believe it's his spaceship on the planet. And you see Galactus for the first time on an IMAX screen specifically. It is just incredible. The scale of Galactus in this, he's just sitting in his chair. He gets up. His eyes start to glow. You see, you know, pretty much his full suit with the, I don't know what you want to call it, but the little things that go above his head, his part of his helmet. And who else's voice could voice this character pretty much perfectly, embodying, you know, the scope that he has, the scale of this character, other than Ralph Ineson. And once he speaks for the first time, jaw drop, looking at the screen, just like, oh shit. And the whole rest of this sequence is just also amazing. This is when the Silver Surfer starts chasing them. She's able to travel as fast as the speed of light just because she makes her way through their wormhole as they're trying to escape. And then it involves a black hole. Once again, she's surfing on the dust of a black hole. Just that whole sequence is also not only awesome, but it was kind of reminiscent of Interstellar in some sort of way. And I would be very surprised if director Matt Shakman didn't have some sort of, you know, influence from that specific iconic scene from Interstellar, because this one is pretty iconic as well. And another one of my favorite things with this movie is just, this is an MCU film, but it doesn't really feel totally like an MCU movie. There's limited humor, although, there is plenty of that with Johnny Storm and The Thing and all of that, but it's very toned down, specifically because of how serious this movie kind of is. The stakes of this film, once Galactus comes to Earth, you are very fearful for this planet, because you know that the Fantastic Four is eventually going to make their way to Earth 616. So me watching this, I'm thinking that Galactus is going to win. He's going to swallow this planet, and then the Fantastic Four are going to have to somehow figure out a way to transfer universes. So you really just feel the stakes. You don't know who's safe. And a lot of MCU movies, they'll be serious. They'll take themselves seriously. Something crazy will happen that's super intense. And then they'll just put a joke in. There'll be some sort of comic relief seconds later. They don't really do that in this film, pretty much at all, if ever. With them being the only superheroes on this planet, all the regular human beings, you really feel how scared they are and how worried they are and how much they rely on the Fantastic Four for pretty much everything. And I just really enjoyed that choice and not having to, make everything a joke at some point, even if, it is funny and it does induce a laugh out of the audience or whoever. I don't think that this movie needed that, and they didn't do it. And I thought that made the movie just that much better. And there's really not much I didn't like about this movie. I think Galactus might have been defeated a little too easily, in some sort of way. I'm sure he'll be back. I hope he's back. But, this movie was also an hour and 55 minutes. From the trailers that we got, there's clearly a lot of stuff missing. I believe I also read that they did cut out about 15 to 20 minutes of this movie. I think it could have been 15 to 20 minutes longer. And if you watch the trailer, there's a lot of cool shots missing in this. I mean, one specific one, not just with Johnny Storm in space, but there's a scene with John Malkovich coming out of the shadows. So I don't know where the hell he was supposed to be in this movie. But there's just also, conversations between Ben Grimm and Sue Storm that are missing. But that didn't take away from the Galactus' presence, Silver Surfer, all that she did in this movie. Everything that you feel in the third act with, just Galactus coming to Earth, destroying it, walking through the city. He's just, taller than skyscrapers. And it doesn't really take away from all of that because it was still all amazing. And with everybody's powers being nailed in this movie, I think Reed Richards was specifically nailed pretty damn well, just showcasing what he can do. It's all predominantly in the third act when he's climbing up Galactus. He's climbing from building to building, trying to save his child from Galactus, and it all just looked great. It was utilized perfectly. So overall, I think this is a fantastic comic book movie. It's very comic booky. With this and Superman, probably two of the most comic book movies that we've gotten in a very long time, if not, top 5 most. So go out, watch this movie, see it in IMAX if you can. You will not regret it. I've seen pictures of, comparing the IMAX screen to what people are seeing in a normal theater, and you miss so much of the shot, so much of the cinematography is missing, and it's just unbelievable. So go see it in IMAX. So yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a solid 8.5 out of 10. But as always, my name is Zach. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Later.